real commitments come at budget time every year. Even though there is a strategic portfolio over the next 10 years, the portfolio, well, the purpose of portfolio management is to make decisions and adjust on the basis of risk and also on the basis of information or knowledge that comes to the decision maker's attention that maybe wasn't there at the conception of the portfolio. And indeed, projects and programs change over time, and that's part of the ordinary course of events. So there is really the annual process of review, which articulates itself in the budget. And obviously the budget is every year available for public comment. And so I think that there is absolutely that year-to-year commitment. And obviously that manifests differently for in-flight projects, where you would want to continue the commitment, especially if there has been an initial budget decision in preceding years. But I think that where we have some sense of change is one of the things that we would like the infrastructure strategy to do on an annual basis is indeed explore options for alternative service delivery. And I don't necessarily know what all of those options are, because it depends which service you're talking about and which service standard you're focusing on. But there is definitely resident behavior that I think is exciting and innovative that we need to be a part of, and we need to factor into our policy and strategy choices to support viable alternative service models, insofar as they are compliant in our space and accord with our overall objectives. But I say that because the quantum of delivery over the next few years, the next decade, and beyond that, does require the city to think about different ways in which services can be delivered. And remember that there's a service delivery model that has not necessarily been refreshed for changing and dynamic conditions. And those dynamic conditions include the fact that we have and continue to have, and one of our strengths being an urbanizing population that is moving to the city, that has an expectation of services across all levels of the market. And we have to think about what is the most sustainable way to deliver services for everyone, and at different sectors of segments of the market. And where I talk about Cape Townians having responded in exciting ways to changing service demands, I think that energy is a very good one. Because of the unfortunate realities of load shedding, many households have explored alternative means of sourcing their electricity, whether that is for those that can afford it, some level of solar power or PV power, or even smaller scale generator or inverter capacities, or alternative sources of looking for energy supply to the household or business. That is a response to a changing utility reality in the supply of electricity. And the city structure, and certainly the rationale for municipal electricity departments, was not really set up to contemplate those alternatives. Luckily for us in the city of Cape Town, we made the decision a few years ago to think beyond just being a municipal electricity service provider and try and expand our thinking to the broader energy market, which is a journey we're still going on and have very much more to do. But we've taken those positive steps. And that's what I mean by exploring alternative service delivery, is We need to be cognizant of those changes that are taking place, and we have to factor them into our business models, into our utility models, in order to ensure that we are sustainable for what the future needs are of our populace, and how they respond to those future needs. Because the alternative is we don't make any changes and we pretend that it isn't happening until one day we realize that those utilities are unsustainable, and they're archaic. And that is the worst of all possible worlds. And hence, that logic of seeking alternatives is very much a big conceptual underpinning of the infrastructure strategy.